What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Realtor Mom. I'm Bria, and today we're gonna be talking about more of real estate. Every time you see me sitting down, we're probably gonna talk about real estate because I'm not, talking about anything else mostly or house stuff, right? But today I specifically wanted to talk to you guys about buying a home with your partner. And by partner, I mean someone that you are not married to, or I mean just buying a home in general with someone. It doesn't have to be a partner, but mostly if you're buying a home with, someone, that you're dating, living with, coexisting with. So this is specifically more for like residential living purposes, not business purposes, because you can't buy a home with a business partner. But this is, more on a romantic level, I guess I should say, which is whatever. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna be talking about buying a home with your partner. Like I said, specifically like a domestic partner, not someone you're married to and not a business partner. But yes, so we're gonna be talking about the real conversations you need to have before doing that, because buying a home is a huge commitment and it's not easy to just walk away from if you're in a rental with your boyfriend, girlfriend, or whatever, with your partner. So we're gonna be deep diving into that. So it could either be bringing you guys closer, or it can bring out more arguments. And like I said, it's not easy to walk away from a home you own versus like how, if you were renting with someone. This video idea came about because I actually had a client reach out to me, and she needs to sell her home because she bought it with her then boyfriend, and he just completely walked away with it and they both have their names on it. But we'll get into that in a little bit. Okay, so first things first, you need to talk about your monthly payment and money. Money is huge. And like I said, if you are just dating someone, or I don't want to say just dating, because I know that's not what it is when you're not married. If you've been with this person for 5+ years, and you guys have been talking about marriage, but you're not quite married yet, but are thinking about buying a home, money and monthly comfort are important. Specifically money. Talking about money, because you probably don't commingle your money just yet. And by commingle, I mean sharing bank accounts. If you do, great. But if you don't just yet, understanding each other's roles in like the monthly payment of a home is, you need to set that foundation immediately. You need to talk about what you qualify for. It is nice, it is helpful to buy a home with someone because both of your incomes are accounted for, so it does give you that boost in purchasing power. But you need to talk about that, the kind of lifestyle you're gonna have when you when you buy a home, because again, it's not just like a rental. You can't just sign a 6-month lease. You're signing a lifetime, 30+ years if you don't sell before then. One partner may be more conservative than the other, so really just talk about what you guys are comfortable with. I like to say, if you're already paying rent and that's comfortable, maybe see where you can teeter around that, because then that kind of gives you an idea of you guys' finances together. The next point I want to make is talking about your credit score and your financial history, because again, when you are buying a home with someone, not just their income is being taken into account, but their debt to income, their credit is being taken into account just like yours. So you need to be honest about what that looks like, because one person may have better credit and the other one might be having just okay credit, and you still can probably qualify for a home. It is important to know where you guys sit when it comes to credit, because one credit score can affect the interest rate, can affect your qualifications for down payment assistance. My husband and I, we are married when we bought our home. However, his credit score affected, it was just a few points off from mine, and his affected us not getting down payment assistance. It's important to know even if you aren't married. So remember, it's not about judging each other and who has the better credit score. It's just really about planning and strategizing, because if it is just like a few points off, there's probably something you can do to get it up. And so it's just about strategizing and making sure you're making the right choices when you are trying to buy a home together. Okay, so the third conversation you need to have is ownership and protection. When you buy a home here, and again, I always tell you guys, I am speaking specifically in an Arizona level, but Arizona is a co-mingling state, co-ownership state type of situation. So it's two people, it takes one to buy but two to sell. So what that means is you could buy the house, just single person, but once you have somebody in there living with you and helping you pay the rent, or not the rent, the mortgage, somebody be helping you pay the mortgage, and then you guys break up and you decide to sell the house because you can't afford it anymore, they can have some stake in your equity. They can say, oh, well, I've been, paying the mortgage. I got, my name is on these bills. It comes out of my account. So they could just take a claim. So it's important to, if you are doing it together and you both are on the loan and both are on the title, it is important to have a plan if this doesn't work out. It's the same with divorce, but it's a little bit different with marriage because we equally bought it, so we're equally fighting. But when it comes to like being unmarried, and even though you both are paying the mortgage, the one person whose name's not on it probably feels like, oh my gosh, and the person whose name is on it is like, you're not getting any of this money. I'm selling this house and I'm moving. But you gotta understand that they could come after you for some of that equity. They can fight for that equity. They have the right, at least in their lives. Also, who's going on the title? Sometimes you can buy a house with the loan, and then you guys can be on the loan together to qualify, but you may want to add somebody different to the title, which is ultimately the key and the ticket to owning the home. So that's also important because, again, if you pay it off, you bought it in cash, and both people are on the title, you both own it. So it's important to discuss that, especially if you don't have kids. Like I had a client who his grandma bought the house cash, but she put him on the title, or it was something like that. I can't remember, but I remember he was a part of the process. And the grandson, she moved from California and she bought here, cash with the money she bought, had from her house, and she, had to be put him on the title because she wanted him to have the house, all that good stuff should something happen. And so those are kind of things you need to think about when you are unmarried, because again, who's owning the home? Who's really owning the home? Are we going into this huge purchase? Think about the what ifs. Think about the what ifs, because life does change, and then things can get sticky, and just understand and have that real raw conversation. So the fourth conversation you should be having is the timeline and expectations. When you're buying a home, especially if this is your first time buying a home, just understand that this is not your forever home. So you might buy a home that needs work. Like I bought a home that needs work, and quite frankly, I do want to move eventually. Probably not now because of the way the market is, and I do want to turn it into a rental possibly. I want to make it into an investment property. But when we bought the home, the people who lived here before were not, they didn't take care of it as they should have. So we needed new flooring all throughout the house, new paint, those little details. So if you're willing to do that, you have to understand, have those conversations. Like if you want to buy a brand new home that doesn't need anything and you're just adding to it and you're just painting, then have that conversation. What are the expectations? How long do we want to be in this house? Like, do we want to turn it into investment after the 3-year mark that we've been in, or the 5-year mark, depending on which loan you have? Do we want to keep it? Are we getting married? Could we potentially break up? Like, those things play a huge role when you're buying a home with someone. You need to understand like what the expectations are of your partner, because like I said, buying a home with someone you're not married to is different than buying someone that buying it with someone you are, because then you both end up stuck there, or it could mess up. Going back to the credit conversation, if one of you decides to walk away and just say, I'm done with this, I don't have no responsibility to it, even though your name is on the loan and possibly on the title. If you just stop paying the bills and it goes into foreclosure, then that's on both of your credit. So that's just, I don't know how to tell you to protect yourself, but definitely protect yourself when buying a home. So understand what you're getting into, put protections in place, you know, talk about it ahead of time and say, okay, if you don't want to be committed to this house, but you want to help me buy it and being on the loan, then you don't have to be on the title. You know, have something written up talking about what we're doing with the equity. Should we sell it? Are you agreeing? Like, you can talk to a real estate lawyer to get really more into detail, but these are things you do have to think about. So like I said, when you're buying a home with someone you're married to, you're probably seeing yourself, you know, growing a family, being there long term. But if you're buying it with, you know, a significant other that you aren't legally tied to, you guys could still have those same dreams, like, oh, we're gonna get married, we're gonna have kids, we got kids already, we doing all these things. But understand that it is a little different dynamic. It's a little different dynamic. And then the last thing you guys need to discuss is each other's roles in the process. Who's handling the paperwork? Who is getting the updates? Who's staying on top of everything? Because when you are buying a home, let me tell you, you're probably talking to your realtor, if not every day, every other day, at least twice a week. You're probably talking to the lender every other day, for real. So who's handling that? I know when we bought our house, my husband he works as a postal worker and he can't constantly check his phone. He can't be on it. He can't be in his emails. He's, you know, delivering mail. So since I was more of the office worker, I was the one who was handling everything, getting everything signed, coordinating, you know, dates. Because honestly, my husband didn't even see the house until until we were in inspection. I just chose the house. It checked all our boxes. I knew he would like it. I knew he would like the space, and he didn't even see it until we were in the inspection process. So, you know, things like that is why you have to have those conversations up front. Because really, truthfully, there's always going to be one partner who honestly could care less if you're the one who's taking control, because it is a lot of information at once, and it's a lot of paperwork, and it's on a lot of conversations. So, you know, it works out. With all that being said, it's not impossible to buy a home with someone you're not married to, but it's just things to, you know, keep in mind. The little backstory that I wanted to give you is a prime example was, I just had a client, she's a repeat client. She moved here from, I think, Atlanta, Georgia, or Georgia. Her and her boyfriend, they decided to buy a home here together. They are not married, and we got them this nice big beautiful home with a pool. And this was probably 3 years ago, going on 3 years this year. She called me, or she texted me the other day, a couple weeks ago, and she's like, hey, I need to talk to you about selling my house. And I was like, oh, okay. Excuse me, long story short, her boyfriend left her right after they refinanced. So meaning they took out some of whatever equity they did have when they refinanced. That was back in, she said, September. It is now February of 2026. That was September 2025, which means whatever equity she had, being able to sell it, she's not going to recoup that. And he just decided to leave. He walked out. He's gone. He said he has nothing to do with it. He's not helping her. So she tried to maintain on her own, but she, you know, said she can no longer do that because, of course, they bought it together based off their income together, their monthly, you know, both their incomes. It was not purchased based off one income. And that's why I said, like, have that conversation ahead of time, because if you are depending on this person to help you make these monthly payments and one of you decides to leave, it can be trying and hard. And so thankfully he has agreed to sell it with her, but he was trying to go behind her back and sell it. And like I said, because they're, you know, they bought it together, they're unmarried, it could become a fight, especially if they don't want, the one person doesn't want to talk to you. She, you know, stopped paying, and she understood the risk that comes with that, you know, having her home foreclosed on and having that on her credit. You know, she's so upset that she's okay with that. But if you're not okay with that, then this is why you have to have conversations. This is like a real world example of things that can happen. Find you a good realtor if you're not in Arizona. If you are in Arizona, hire me. I can help you navigate these things, because sometimes it can be uncomfortable conversations to have. If you and your partner are thinking about buying, like I said, hire me. I'm here in Arizona. You can get my contact information in the description box, or, you know, sign up on my website. It's also in the description box. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, like this video for me, and I will see you guys in the next one.